What is it like having your first film and then your most recent feature show back to back this weekend?
Amazing. I mean, I'm sort of beside myself right now to be able to kind of walk down memory lane with Blair Witch on one night and then go into the future on my next film the following day. So it's very exciting for me. It's very satisfying, and especially a festival as prestigious as this one on the writing side. I sort of pride myself as being a writer-director, and to be recognized in that regard is really satisfying and humbling. So yeah, it's great. It's a really nice feeling.
I can see you.
I'm real excited about this. Thank you for
I'm
the
very
opportunity.
glad.
And do you have any favorite memories from the Sundance premiere?
Oh my gosh, I mean, tons and tons. Premiering at the Egyptian at Sundance our first night and then selling that night was pretty much every independent filmmaker's dream. So we were all sort of taken aback by the whole kind of festivities and the surreal aspect of the entire experience. And we look back on it now, it's sort of like a blurry dream. But I do have very fond memories of those days, and you'll never have that first time. So will always be a special time for me.
Okay, and Blair Witch often gets talked about for its very good marketing campaign and just coming out at like such an important moment in like horror history and such. But obviously, 20 years later, people are still lined up around the building to watch your movie. Like, what about the filmmaking do you think keeps people watching and keeps people excited about Blair Witch?
Well, I think Blair Witch genuinely scares people. I think it still holds up, and it scares you when you go in there and you're looking for a good scare. It still does that. It does have a lot of mystique to it, and people want to see what it's all about. And seeing it on the big screen's a lot of fun. The marketing campaign has its own sort of like level of mystique, and a lot of it was helped out by John Pearson, who's a local, Austin resident here. So he was instrumental in helping us get, our initial awareness campaign going. So there's a lot to get your teeth into on a movie like this. As a young filmmaker or a young moviegoer, Blair Witch sort of represents this point in our history where internet was coming into its own, reality TV was sort of coming into its own, and it's just the typical rags to riches story. So we all like certain aspects of that whole kind of mythology. And but at the end of the day, I still think it's scaring people, and that's what people want. They want to go in and get a good scare.
And what is like the greatest lesson you learned making Blair Witch, and how is that, like, which one has kind of stayed with you throughout your career?
Biggest lesson learned on Blair Witch probably is that you can be king of the hill one day, and then the next day you're not. Fame is fleeting, and the bottom line is you got to keep sticking to what you love doing. If you love making movies and you love telling stories, then that's all that really matters. And if they end up being a success, great. Probably will never be another Blair Witch again, but that's okay. I mean, my thing with Skyman that we're premiering here tomorrow is that it was a labor of love. We all had a great time making it, and we hope that other people respond to it the way we did. But that's really what matters. Is just having a good time with doing what you love.
And do you have any final advice for film students?
Well, that was probably the biggest piece of advice, but yeah, I mean, it's a hard process, and it's there's no one way to skin the cat to get your movie financed or to get your movie made. The upside is that the technology allows you to kind of get into making quality stuff easier now than before. But it's still incumbent on the filmmaker to write a good script, to have a good script, have good execution, good acting, good directing. There's no shortcut to that. So don't worry about failing. You're going to go out, you're going to do a bunch of stuff that doesn't look great, and you're going to look back on it like I do with my student films, and I don't want anyone to see them. But that's part of the process. So learning through that failure is ultimately what leads you to your own Blair Witch.